the real potential for silver is the massive, massive deliveries that we've seen month over month over month on COMEX. In fact, we saw the largest delivery in the history of the COMEX in silver in May. And it's a game where you have currently the second largest concentrated short position in history by the commercial banks right now.
If we see this expand into a worldwide conflict, the price of oil is going to go stratospheric. I mean, forget about the official statistics. The official numbers are a complete joke.
No one else other than the ECB and me seem to have placed an emphasis on the fact that COMEX has become a delivery option. I mean, the stands for delivery are enormous. The rate at which they're running in this year so far is an elevated 1,500 tons a year. I mean, that is huge.
In today's news recap, big news from Russia. St. Petersburg Exchange to launch trading of gold bars. The St. Petersburg Exchange signed a cooperation agreement with State Mint Gaznak at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum on Thursday as it prepares to start trading precious metals. The exchange and Gaznak said in a joint press release that they agreed to join forces to organize trading of physical gold in the form of standard and weighted bullion on the platform of the St. Petersburg Exchange. Gaznak, which began providing custodial services for precious metals in 2024, will act as the custodian, providing its infrastructure for storing gold and conducting the necessary transactions for exchange trades. We and our colleagues from Gaznak plan to create a risk-free trading space for counterparties where they will be able to safely sell and buy weighted and standard precious metal bars. The depository for which will be Gaznak, St. Petersburg Exchange President Igor Artemyev said in the press release, "I am confident that cooperation between the St. Petersburg Exchange and Gaznak will give new momentum to the development of exchange, trading of precious metals, and increase the volume of trading with them, and in future increase the investment appeal of the whole precious metals market for both legal entities and for retail investors," Artemyev said. I am certain that our partnership will in future lead to qualitative changes on the gold market, increase its liquidity, accessibility, and pricing transparency. So let's just say it, you guys. The BRICS master plan is unfolding right in front of everyone's eyes. Now we'll show you the best clips of the latest interview. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you do not miss out our daily recaps. And check goldsilverstacks.com to get your Stacker's Handbook, the ultimate guide to stack gold and silver, packed with strategies to trade the gold-silver ratio and get more ounces and build wealth over time, so you don't have to rely on market commentators to make your investment decisions. Enjoy the episode.
So the sudden realization on COMEX that, they've got outstanding stands for delivery. And from what I understand, there might be quite a backlog of these stands for delivery because, when you talk to people, I mean, Rafi Faber was one guy who decided to test the system. And he bought one contract and stood for delivery, and he had a hell of a problem getting delivery. He really did. They did delayed. There's another guy who is a dealer for Sprott who took delivery of silver, or at least tried to. And I mean, I think that story is somewhere on Garter in one of their dispatches. It took him forever to get it. I mean, it really did. And there was excuse after excuse. He sort of thought, well, should we sue the deliverers for this? And, they took legal advice and decided not to. And I suspect, actually, that from Sprott's point of view, if they tried to sue, say, one of the big bullion banks, they'd probably be cut out of COMEX forever. So that I could see as a retaliatory action. I mean, you can't rub these guys up the wrong way. But nevertheless, there's probably a huge backlog of delivery. I mean, we just don't know. We don't know. But I think it's worth assuming that there is some backlog of delivery. So with the prospect of tariffs coming in, of course, a bullion bank operating on COMEX had the problem that they were potentially going to have to pay 25% more, including the tariffs, to ship the gold in to COMEX in order to deliver against those obligations. So basically what happened was that they jacked up the price of the futures, put a huge, great premium on the futures to create an arbitrage. Now, this sort of arbitrage always works. People will beg, borrow, and steal gold at one price to get the gain, if you like, on another price. Now, if you've got your own gold and you don't particularly care whether you've got it or not, then that's easy. The arbitrage is just a one-way, ticket. Basically, you sell it and they say, somebody's bidding me 20% more than market. Yeah, I'll take it. Bang. If, on the other hand, it is a genuine arbitrage and it's not your gold you're doing, but you're sourcing gold, say, from the Bank of England's vaults under, let's say, a lease agreement or something, or dealers in Zurich or wherever it might be, it's not your gold. What you're doing is you're taking this gold at one price and you're selling it into the market at another price. Are you going to get that gold back? Well, no, because it's all being used to satisfy the stands for delivery.
The price of gold has gone higher from an institutional standpoint. You've got institutional buying, you've got hedge fund buying. Most importantly, you have central bank around the world buying. Oddly, and I mean, you couldn't have told me this scenario 2 years ago, 5, 10, 20 years ago, that the world would be on the verge of World War III and the public would be selling gold. They're selling gold, they're selling silver. And I've seen more sales in the last 6 to 9 months, just in my own personal book, in the last 9 months, I've seen more selling than I've seen collectively in the last 15 years. That tells me that there's no money on the streets. That tells me people, the average person, is running low on funds and selling assets. And of course, what asset are you going to sell? Something that doubled or something that's down in value? So you've seen gold, you've seen silver from a retail standpoint has been sold to raise capital, but from a central bank standpoint, they're unloading it left and right. There's all kinds of potential events. I think the event or the response to events is that we see a failure to deliver, because there's so many paper contracts out there per real deliverable ounce that it's a certainty that there will be a failure to deliver. That failure to deliver, I mean, you're talking about triple-digit silver with maybe a fair-sized number in front of it, $400, $500, $600, who knows? You just have to understand that the price of silver has been suppressed for so many years with naked paper contracts, and the game just kept going and going. It could have easily been blown up by Russia, it could have easily been blown up by China, but that would be an act of war. And they basically left us to our own methods of destruction, of destroying ourselves. And that failure to deliver is going to happen. And when that happens, it's going to set a time bomb of derivatives defaulting off. I mean, that will be the end of the financialization of the West.
In today's news recap, UAE investors can now buy refinery-grade products after Gold deal. Dubai. Want to buy gold as investment direct from a refinery in the UAE? Now you can. Through a new partnership with Emirates Gold, the UAE refinery, investors using the Gold app can do just that. Buy certified gold products at refinery direct rates. Gold, which is an investment platform allowing access bullion-linked products, currently has 75,000 active users. Gold's price increases, and especially this year, have created more options when it comes to investing in the metal. Trading platforms confirm that buying gold on fractional basis has become a major investor preference. The O Gold and Emirates Gold partnership marks a significant step forward in making precious metals investment more accessible and transparent for everyday investors in the UAE. According to Bandar Lothman, founder of O Gold, we are committed to democratizing access to precious metals, and this collaboration with a highly respected refinery like Emirates Gold directly addresses that goal. Our users can now be assured of the authenticity, quality, and competitive pricing of their gold investments. Now we'll show you the best clips of the latest interview, but first, smash the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and check our new Numismatics Handbook. Most stackers want to get active, but swapping their metals for dollars isn't an option. There's plenty of opportunities in the overlooked numismatics world. Mastering U.S. coins, key dates, and errors pays off by multiplying your ounces and capitalizing where others aren't paying attention.
Short position in silver right now is somewhere about 957 million ounces. How much of it is it a naked short? I don't know. Chris Marcus had a great article the other day. He said, look, when these banks on COMEX are short, they're supposed to be long the corresponding amount in London to balance their balance sheet. But the thing is, he said, if that really is the case, when looking at what they call the free float in London, the amount of silver backing the contracts, he surmised they would only have 7 million ounces. That's it in London backing the whole system. And if they are not hedged as they should be, why then you have some massively dangerous positions by some of the largest banks in the world, which represent an existential threat to the system. So when I look at silver, aside from the fact that we saw its highest weekly close in 14 years, only the third time in history it's been that high, you can see there's a concerted effort by the banks, a real concerted effort to keep it from rising. They failed in gold. I believe they'll fail in silver as well. My mentor, Richard Russell, used to say that if you make 7% a year return, that you will go down in the investing Hall of Fame as a rock star. And what has happened with the gambling mentality from, Texas Hold'em to all the way up to the gambling, what is in the equity markets and in the crypto markets, it's created I believe, a whole generation of investors who have irrational expectations. And, they've been right to a degree. Fortunes have been made in cryptocurrencies. Will it continue to be? I don't know. When you look at what the largest banks in the world are doing, the largest central banks, they're accumulating gold and silver. And if it weren't so important, I guess really the interesting thing is that if it wasn't so important, for whatever reason, why do we have 8 of the Western banks that have held the largest concentrated short position in any commodity ever traded on COMEX? Why are they trying so hard to keep it down? And where would it be if we didn't have this level of suppression and manipulation day after day in order to keep it down? Before it's all said and done, I think that silver will outpace and maybe even bring those type of crypto type returns. But the difference is you hold it in your hand, and it's an asset that has outlived 2 world wars and German hyperinflation and the Great Depression and every pandemic, just like gold. And it's viewed by some of the most sophisticated and well-informed traders and players on the planet right now as being vital, as being strategic, not just industrial. So yes, it's been a very frustrating, counterintuitive ride for a lot of these people, especially the ones who came on when you guys came on right around 2021. I think the issue is that too many people have come into this market with the expectations of becoming wealthy. That's not what you own it for. Now, silver offers that kind of potential, but you own it because the system that has been going on for 50 plus years, this fiat system is coming to an end. And there might be some cryptos like Bitcoin that actually endure. But then again, silver is 5,000 years old. It's mentioned 300-400 times in the Bible, and Bitcoin's barely a teenager. That doesn't really mean anything other than to say silver has lasted the test of time. And if it weren't being held back by some of the most sophisticated Western banks in the world, who I believe are being exposed right now, being exposed by massive deliveries going across the globe, being exposed by a country like China, who is the second largest producer in the world, Ivan, and is flying all around Latin America, in particular Peru, buying up all the doré and the concentrate directly from the miners. Doré are bars that are crudely refined, and concentrate is a byproduct of that, paying double what the West will and shipping it back to China for refining. Why would they do that as the second largest producer in the world?
Yeah.
Why are we seeing Russia say we're going to add it to our strategic stockpile? Why is India importing almost 900 million ounces in the last 5 years? And why are we seeing the biggest deliveries in the history of the COMEX market happening right now over the last 5-6 months and accelerating? So I think there's a lot to be said for silver, and I think there's a lot yet to be written in these final chapters. We're a long ways away from the end game, but look, bottom line is simply this. Silver's underperformed. Silver has been frustrating, but silver is vitally important to some of the biggest players in the world. You wouldn't see 8 commercial banks holding the price down to this degree, to the point of it being an existential threat to their survival, if they're overrun by the deliveries across the globe, if it weren't something very significant. And I think it is. And I think before it's all said and done, people will understand that.
What do you think of Alasdair's take? Is he spot on? Will the BRICS nations' master plan come to fruition, or is all this nothing more than conspiracy theories? Post in the comments section down below your honest opinion and share with the stackers if you're accumulating more gold and silver on this run up, or if on the other side you're taking profits. Thanks for watching. Now check this video right here because it's a perfect fit for you, and I'll see you on the other side.